She built an empire. She raised a son to be strong, kind, and successful. But when he introduced his fiancée, something felt wrong. So she did the unthinkable. She disguised herself as a maid to uncover the truth. And what she found changed everything. Evelyn Carter was not just a mother, she was a powerhouse. Born into poverty, she had built her multi-million-dollar real estate empire from the ground up. Her story wasn't one of privilege, it was one of grit, sacrifice, and resilience. And the one thing she valued more than her wealth? Her son, Malcolm. He was her pride and joy. Smart, compassionate, and driven, the kind of man any mother would be proud of. So, when Malcolm announced his engagement to Sophia Davenport, a beautiful and sophisticated woman from an elite family, Evelyn wanted to be happy. But something about Sophia didn't sit right. Evelyn had met all kinds of people in her life, the genuine ones, and the ones who were only drawn to money. And Sophia? She had all the right words, the perfect smile. But something felt off. So, instead of confronting her directly, Evelyn made a bold decision. She would find out the truth by becoming part of Sophia's world in disguise. And what she discovered shook her to her core. Evelyn had trusted her instincts her whole life. It was what had helped her survive when she was young. It was what had helped her build her fortune when no one believed in her. And now, her instincts were telling her that Sophia wasn't what she seemed. The first red flag? Sophia was too perfect. Every answer she gave Evelyn was polished, rehearsed. She knew exactly what to say to charm people, exactly how to act in front of Malcolm. But Evelyn knew how to read beyond the mask, and she was about to prove it. Evelyn arranged for Sophia to host a brunch at Malcolm's estate, inviting her closest friends. Evelyn, now disguised as a maid named Ella, blended into the background watching, listening. At first, everything seemed normal. Sophia greeted her guests with charm and grace, making sure everyone felt welcome. But then Evelyn approached to serve the drinks. That's when she saw the shift. Sophia, who had been all smiles moments ago, barely glanced at her. "Ugh, careful with that tray," she muttered, as if Evelyn's presence annoyed her. Evelyn apologized softly, keeping her eyes down, but she was taking note. Sophia continued to chat with her friends, her laughter light and elegant until one of the glasses accidentally spilled. Sophia's entire demeanor changed in an instant. "Are you serious? Can you not even do your job properly?" She snapped at Evelyn, her voice sharp and unfiltered. The room went silent. Evelyn met her gaze, but Sophia quickly turned away, forcing a smile as if nothing had happened. "I swear, hiring help these days is impossible," she muttered to her friends, shaking her head. Her friends laughed in agreement. And that was red flag number 1. Because if Sophia treated the staff this way, how did she truly feel about Malcolm's mother, who had once been poor herself? Later that evening, Evelyn was cleaning up when she overheard Sophia on the phone. Her tone was different, cold, irritated. "No, I'm not in love with him," she scoffed. Evelyn froze. Her heart pounded as she inched closer. "He's sweet, sure. But do you know how much he's worth? This is bigger than love. This is my future." Evelyn's breath caught in her throat. Sophia's voice dropped lower. "His mother is the real problem, though. She doesn't trust me. And if she doesn't accept me, Malcolm might start questioning things. I need her gone." Evelyn gripped the edge of the counter. Gone? Sophia was trying to push her out of Malcolm's life? Sophia sighed. "She's smart, but she's just an old woman. I'll figure something out." That was the moment Evelyn knew. Sophia wasn't just a gold digger. She was dangerous. And if she didn't do something soon, Malcolm would be trapped in a marriage built on lies. Determined to get more proof, Evelyn set up one final test. The next morning, while still in disguise, she approached Sophia in the study, pretending to be a newly hired maid. "Miss Davenport, do you need anything?" Evelyn asked softly. Sophia barely looked up. "Yes, stay out of my way." Evelyn hesitated. "Mr. Malcolm seems like a wonderful man." Sophia laughed cold, bitter. "Oh, please, he's sweet, but men like him are just stepping stones. Once we're married, I'll make sure I have access to everything." And once I do, well, let's just say I'll be making some adjustments to my life. Evelyn felt fire rise in her chest. Adjustments? She could barely contain her anger. But she wasn't going to blow her cover just yet. Because when she exposed Sophia, she was going to do it in front of Malcolm, where there would be no escape. And the woman who thought she had everything under control was about to lose everything. Evelyn stood in the quiet of Malcolm's estate, gripping the edge of the counter as Sophia's words echoed in her mind. He's just a stepping stone. Once we're married, I'll make sure I have access to everything. And once I do, well, let's just say I'll be making some adjustments to my life. Her blood boiled. She had built everything Malcolm had today, given him a life of privilege, but also taught him the value of hard work, respect, and love. And now, some fraud was trying to play him for a fool. Evelyn took a deep breath, steadying herself. Losing her temper wouldn't fix anything. If she wanted to protect Malcolm, she needed to expose Sophia. And she had to do it right. Evelyn had already seen enough to know Sophia wasn't who she pretended to be. But Malcolm? He was blinded by love. Sophia had wrapped herself around him so tightly that Evelyn knew he wouldn't believe her without proof. So she set up one final test. The next evening, Evelyn, still disguised as the maid, Ella found Sophia in the grand living room, sipping wine while scrolling through her phone. Evelyn approached cautiously. "Miss Davenport?" she said softly. Sophia barely glanced up. "What?" "I overheard something interesting today," Evelyn said carefully, keeping her voice low. Sophia sighed, setting down her glass. "I don't pay you to gossip. Get to the point." Evelyn leaned in slightly. "I heard Mr. Malcolm talking with his lawyer. Something about a prenuptial agreement?" The reaction was instant. Sophia's entire body stiffened. Her fingers clenched around the stem of her wineglass. "A prenup?" she repeated, her voice suddenly sharp. Evelyn nodded slowly. "Yes. I believe it states that if the marriage ends, you would leave with nothing." Sophia's face darkened. She slammed her glass onto the table, standing up so fast her silk robe fluttered around her. "That's not possible," she hissed, pacing. "He wouldn't do that. He loves me." Evelyn shrugged. "Maybe, but his mother, she's very protective of him. If she convinced him, then—" She let the sentence hang in the air. Sophia's jaw tightened. Then something shifted in her eyes. The sweetness, the fake charm was gone. What remained? A woman who had just realized her plan might fall apart. Sophia turned to Evelyn, eyes narrowed. "If that woman thinks she's going to take my future away from me, she has another thing coming," she muttered, more to herself than to Evelyn. Evelyn felt a wave of satisfaction. There it was, the real Sophia. And now, it was time to make sure Malcolm saw it too. Later that night, Evelyn finally removed her disguise. She washed off the maid uniform, fixed her hair, and stepped out of the shadows ready to reclaim her place. The next morning, Malcolm was shocked when his mother walked into the dining room, no longer Ella, but the powerful, commanding Evelyn Carter. "Mom? What are you doing here?" he asked, confused. Evelyn smiled, pouring herself a cup of coffee. "Oh, you know, just making sure my future daughter-in-law is everything she claims to be." Sophia entered the room at that moment, and when she saw Evelyn without her disguise, her face went pale. Evelyn met her gaze, unblinking. "Good morning, Sophia," she said smoothly. Sophia forced a smile. "Mrs. Carter, what a surprise." Malcolm looked between them, clueless. Evelyn took a slow sip of coffee. "You know, Malcolm, I've learned something very interesting about Sophia." Sophia's smile faltered. "What are you talking about?" Malcolm frowned, glancing at his fiancée. Evelyn set down her cup and clasped her hands together. "I've been here the whole time, Malcolm, watching, listening." Sophia stiffened. "Here? What do you mean?" Evelyn smiled. "I was the maid." Malcolm froze. "Sophia?" Her face drained of all color. Malcolm turned to his mother, his brows furrowed in disbelief. "You what?" Evelyn leaned back in her chair. "I needed to see the truth with my own eyes, and I did." She turned to Sophia, her voice icy. Would you like to explain what you said about my son being a stepping stone? Sophia's mouth opened then closed. Malcolm's face hardened. What is she talking about? He demanded. Sophia swallowed. Malcolm, 1. Evelyn held up a small voice recorder. Don't bother. I have everything right here. Sophia's entire body went rigid. Because in that moment, she knew. It was over. The room felt smaller, the air thicker as Sophia's face drained of color. Malcolm's eyes hardened as he stared at the voice recorder in his mother's hand. Mom, what's on that? He asked slowly, his voice dangerously calm. Sophia forced a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. Malcolm, baby, whatever she's saying, it's... Evelyn simply pressed play. And suddenly, Sophia's own words filled the room. He's just a stepping stone. Once we're married, I'll make sure I have access to everything. His mother is the real problem. I need her gone. Sophia froze. Malcolm? His entire body stiffened. A beat of silence stretched between them, before Malcolm let out a cold, bitter laugh. A stepping stone, he repeated, shaking his head. Sophia panicked. Malcolm, I didn't mean it like that. You know how people talk. I was just... No, he cut her off, his voice sharp as a blade. I don't know, Sophia. So why don't you tell me? What exactly did you mean? Sophia opened her mouth, but no excuse would be enough. Not now. Not when Malcolm was finally seeing the truth. Evelyn sat back, arms crossed, watching Sophia crumble. Because she had seen women like this before. Women who thought they could manipulate their way into power. Women who saw good men as nothing more than a means to an end. Sophia had played her game well. But in the end, she had lost. Malcolm's face was stone. You were never in this for me, he said, voice eerily quiet. Sophia shook her head desperately. Malcolm, please, I love you. Malcolm? He just laughed. A cold, empty sound. You love my money, he corrected. Then? His expression hardened. Get out. Sophia's breath hitched. What? Malcolm pointed to the door. I said, get out. Sophia's eyes filled with fury. You're making a mistake, she hissed. Malcolm didn't even blink. Number. The mistake was ever thinking you loved me. Sophia's face twisted in rage, but she knew she had no choice. With one last glare at Evelyn, she stormed out, slamming the door behind her. And just like that, she was gone. The silence lingered. Malcolm sat down, rubbing his hands over his face. I almost married her, he muttered. Evelyn placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. But you didn't. Malcolm exhaled, shaking his head. I should have seen it. Evelyn smiled. Love makes people see what they want to see. Malcolm looked at her, guilt flickering in his eyes. Mom, I doubted you. Evelyn chuckled softly. That's my job, sweetheart, to look out for you even when you don't want me to. Malcolm let out a breath and he hugged her. Thank you, he whispered. Evelyn smiled, holding her son close. Always. And as the weight of what had almost happened settled, Malcolm realized something. He wasn't just lucky to have avoided a disaster. He was lucky to have a mother who would do anything to protect him. Even if it meant pretending to be a maid, a mother's love sees what others can't. Subscribe for more powerful stories that remind us sometimes the truth hides in plain sight.